Hello, thank you for joining us on this live stream. Um, so just to briefly introduce for everyone that's jumping on stream, we'll be taking questions anonymously through Slido. You can see that on screen if you just jump onto the website and chuck in that code, you can submit your questions, totally anonymous, and we'll be highlighting them with our speakers then and there. So what I'll just do now is actually introduce all of our speakers, get them up onto the stream, and get them to all briefly introduce themselves. So the first speaker that we have tonight is Colin Dryland. So we just should be able to show. There we go. Hey, Colin, how are you?
Hi there.
Cool. I guess I won't be able to do justice to an intro to Colin. You have a very rich background. Just Karen did a very good job of connecting us with you, and so thank you for joining us. Let's, I guess, get started with a brief introduction of what you do, sort of your background, your leadership roles, and sort of what you hope to give insights on tonight.
Well, that's a lot, isn't it? My role at Woods is a senior engineer. I lead a team delivering land development projects. I'm heavily invested in the professional development of staff here at Woods with a program that looks after about 90 engineers and 200 staff overall for professional development capacity. I'm also the ACE Regional Chair for North of Auckland, and that involves a governance capacity, liaising with member firms, understanding industry issues and taking up with the board so that they can use their influence with local and central government. From today, I'd love to pass on any tips that I can offer to anyone looking to grow their professional networks and careers for success.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Colin, and we look forward to hearing from you as well. Cool. And now I'll just add on introduce Mandeep. So I think we should be able to see Mandeep there as well. Cool. Hi, Mandeep. How are you?
Hello, Sashikal, Rajpreet. Hello, Colin. Nice to hear your introduction. Thank you, first of all, for bringing me on this platform to interact with your audience, the YSPNs. So it's really nice to be here. My brief introduction is I'm a serving police officer and holding the rank of Senior Sergeant with New Zealand Police. And my role is engagement advisor with the Maori Pacific and Ethnic Services. So I'm an ethnic senior sergeant to engage and advise on ethnic issues, finding out what's happening in the community, how we can help the communities, and also educate the community on various topics, how to prevent from victimization, all sorts of things in that manner. I'm originally from India, and I have been with the police, New Zealand Police, for the last 18 years. I'm mother of 2 children and also grandma of 2 grandkids. And yeah, floating between Auckland and Wellington, because I work with Police National Headquarters. A majority of my policing has been in Tamaki Makaurau, but last year I moved to Wellington.
Awesome, thank you.
And I'm here to answer the questions from the audience and from the host. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. We definitely wanted to give people a pretty broad perspective on the variety of careers that are out there and the variety of experience that you guys gather. So it's really cool to have you with us as well. And so third and finally, I'd like to introduce Dasham. So I think he should be visible in a second. There we go. Hey, Dasham.
Kia ora. Can you guys hear me and see me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome, great. Hey, look, thanks for having me again, Raj. Appreciate that. Now, nice to meet you, Colin and Mandeep, through this virtual connection. Yeah, look, I don't have a rich background as these 2 esteemed people here, but I definitely can contribute 20 cents in helping other people out with their career pathways. I've been a recruiter most of my life. I've done talent acquisition. I've done solution advisory, business partnership with companies through my journey. Currently, I'm a solution advisor for MSD, Ministry of Social Development, and I am focusing on developing talent strategies as part of my role. I also have a side hustle. I have a photography and videography business, which is going well. I am also a father of two boys, 8 and 2. And I absolutely love these platforms to pass on information of what I have been through, how I can help other people, especially in my community, to grow up the ladder. I have been involved with YSPN through the mentorship and career partnership program, and I would sort of, keen to be involved in the future as well. And this isn't just another platform to share experiences. So thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Welcome, Dasham. So yeah, I think that just even those introductions definitely highlight one of the cool things about being a part of YSPN ourselves, myself, and I think the team can attest to this, is the kind of cool people we get to meet. And so we're all about doing that ourselves, and in particular getting those that are watching to be able to also connect with people and take their advice, take their learnings. So without further ado, we can just jump straight into this Q&A. I think a lot of these questions you guys will find apply to all of you. So it's an open discussion. It's more of a chat roundtable than it is like a one-on-one. So feel free to add on your thoughts, share them as we go. I don't think it's a format that's particularly crazy new to anyone, just nice and easy going. I guess for each of you, one thing in particular, given that we've got sort of engineering, we've got sort of NZ policing, we've got sort of professional services / a lot of your involvement is in government now, Dasham. How did each of you respectively, and I think maybe I'll chuck it out to Colin first, and then we can just go from there so that you guys know we don't end up clashing on who's speaking. Is how did you decide on your career? What made you want to go into engineering? And then in particular, given the richness of your career, what do you think were key moments in there that maybe influenced you or were notable? In shaping you to sort of where you're at now.
Well, honestly, I wasn't in engineering to start with. I worked in a factory for a year. I didn't finish high school, so I didn't have many options open to me at the time, and I decided to study architecture. So I finished architecture, couldn't find a job in architecture, and just through a chance meeting with a friend, he introduced me to one of his customers who was an engineer and was looking for staff. So I started working for an engineering company, and after about 6 years decided to retrain as an engineer part-time for 4 years. So it was a chance journey into engineering, and one that really, really fit. I can't believe I happened across it.
Awesome, cool. Open to anyone else to also share your thoughts on sort of what made you shape yourself into your career currently, whether also, I do recall this, that you started out with architecture. And so for the other two, Mandeep, Dasham, if you guys started with something else in mind, ended up doing something else, and the why or sort of how behind that. Maybe yourself, Dasham?
Yeah, look, according to me, a career nowadays is no longer a sort of a path. It's more like a journey, and it depends on you where you want to take it. Because it's no longer, if you study engineering, you have to be an engineer. You can do so many other things to diversify yourself or upskill yourself. I guess a career is a multi-faced thing now. You can do so many things and call it a career. Like, for example, my first course in university was travel and tourism. And I took that on thinking I would travel the world. I mean, how naive I could be, right? A 17-year-old thinking that. But then I quickly found out that I'll be in a ticketing office doing tickets mostly. But that wasn't me, right? So I was more about helping people and getting things done. Just something internally, something that I had in my mind to do something about it. So I started with the government. I was a case manager for work and income for a wee while. And then it grew into sort of helping people out with their careers. So then I fell into recruitment. I did a course in human resources. And here I am, still doing that for after, around 10 odd years. But that didn't stop me from exploring my creative side. Like, I'm still a photographer. I've got a company. I have an events business. I'm a public speaker. All this is part of my career. So I wouldn't say that I have one trajectory. It's more like multiple things going on at the same time. And that's okay, because if you are satisfied, you're liking what you do, people are respecting you or who you are, you're helping the people in some way possible, then that's a career for you.
Awesome, cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, finally, Mandeep, I think we'll get everyone's perspectives on this one. It's a really good question to sort of kick off.
Sure. Thank you. Fascinating um, answers from both Colin and Dasham. For me, it's very different. Coming from an Indian heritage, and especially coming from a Punjabi heritage, born in a very conservative family. I was married at a very young age. Career in those days for women wasn't something which was thought of. It was never a priority as compared to it would be for boys, especially in Punjabi culture. So you are basically taught to do more housework and yes, some studies so that you can read and write, but nothing from a career point of view. We are two sisters and we don't have any brother. So my mom always saw son in through me. She always wanted a son, but unfortunately she didn't have. But she saw that through me and voiced her dream that if I was a boy, then I could have joined army, I could have joined the police. So that's the kind of thought she had given me when I was young, growing. But then I was married at a very young age. I was only 17 and a half. I didn't have much opportunity to do any formal studies. And became mother at a very young age of two lovely kids who I'm very proud of. Both are university graduates. My daughter, she's an oral health scientist and hygienist, sorry, and my son, he's a civil engineer. So I'm very proud of them. But it sort of diverted my early days of studying to a motherhood, to be a housewife, and all that sort of stuff. And but my marriage failed when I was 21, mother of two kids. And then I had an opportunity of coming to Australia as a student. I wanted to grow further. I had done some teachers training. I wanted to stand on my feet. I realized how important it is to be financially independent, how long my parents can carry me and my kids. So those struggles forced me to find my luck somewhere else, because being in India culturally, again, it's a huge stigma being a separated woman. So opportunities were very limited. So I came to Australia and then came to New Zealand. I was driving taxi. I was working in a petrol station doing odd jobs because I didn't have any formal education. So my options were very limited. I also worked as a cleaner in office environment. And my dream was if I could sit on office chair one day, because when I used to clean the rubbish bin, I would think, oh, it wouldn't be that fantastic if I could be also in an office environment. And then when I came to New Zealand, I started doing some computer course. From computer course, I been offered a job at the training institute where I was studying. That was my first professional job, and I was very proud of that to achieve that. Didn't have any. English was my second language, is my second language. It wasn't very fluent. For me, this was a huge stepping stone in my life journey. And I continued to drive taxi because financially it wasn't something which was helping me immensely. And I met a psychologist who I was taking from Remuera to Auckland airport. And on the way, we discussed about happiness, how one could be happy. And she sort of discussed with me, finding out your childhood dreams, fulfilling them, it can really make you happy. And at that time, I was living in a YMCA, and the receptionist was an ex-police officer who had been who worked for police for 35 years. So sort of environment and that person, the psychologist, both changed my that stage of life into thinking of fulfilling my childhood dream of wearing the uniform which my mother had given to me, which was conditional if I was a boy. And I spoke to John. I said, "Oh, what do you think if I want to become a police officer?" And he said, "Wow, this will be fantastic. New Zealand police will love having someone who could speak different language. They will be very glad to have you." And for me, that was not so easy. Sorry for the long story, but I can't really cut it short to give you the depth of it. But I had to overcome a few physical and cultural hurdles to be where I am today. And one was to learn how to swim. I had never been to the swimming pools ever in my life. Learning how to swim, physical fitness, all those things took me 2 years before I could join the police, and I'm proud that I joined in 2004 and became the first Indian-born female police officer in New Zealand. And I take it very humbly, but very proudly as well, that I have that honor to represent our Indian woman coming from such a humble background with no formal studies, and then being where I am today. So that's my career journey, how I thought of joining the police.
Cool. Thanks for that, Mandeep. Honestly, it's quite an incredible story. And like you said, it does kind of explain just the hurdles and the obstacles that you sort of had to go through. I think it definitely highlights a couple of things to me. One around just, again, the value of networking, right? Being able to sort of meet that psychologist, get a perspective from them, hear from others, and sort of gather their thoughts and see where, I guess, once they start to get to know you, where they think you could fit as well. You may not see opportunity yourself because you're new to the entire thing. I think to sort of jump straight into then how your guys' stories can voice your insights. For the viewers, we'll have students, we'll have experienced professionals. So there's a lot of variety in what someone can do. But given your own experiences, given your sort of own thoughts, what's something that anybody could do this weekend to sort of accelerate their career growth, whether it's getting into a job, whether it's increasing in a job? What's something that you perhaps think people aren't doing enough of that they could do right this weekend to help kickstart things? Maybe I'll jump to Colin again.
Sure. Making a plan. That's something that engineers are really good at. But really having a plan, setting some small achievable goals so that you can start off, build some momentum, and really drive that empowerment that comes with that ticking those things off a list. And in addition to that, engaging in a network. You can hear from all of us panelists that some unexpected opportunities have come from a broad network and working in lots of different fields and engaging with lots of different people. You'll never know where those opportunities come from. So there are a lot of groups out there that you can research online through LinkedIn. There might be through your existing networks or completely outside of your networks and comfort zones that can offer new perspectives and new opportunities. There's some great opportunities out there.
Awesome, cool. So yeah, I guess it's good. I know what the experience is like to eventually sit down and make a plan and really kind of scope things out. And you'll find quite often it's good to have a plan simply because you're going to go back and change it multiple times. So yeah, I think that's something that I would potentially also encourage people to do as well. Dashan, what are your thoughts? What do you reckon someone could do right this weekend to kickstart things?
Yeah, look, Colin pretty much nailed it. But in addition, I think sometimes some people don't know what they want. It's really hard to sort of put a pen to paper that I want to do this. If that's the case, definitely make a plan. But you're going to have to experiment with your plan as well. Like for some people, earning a 6-figure salary is happiness or success. For others, having multiple jobs or multiple career paths is a definition of success. So I would say lose the linear, because some people think going upwards is the only way to achieve success, but in fact it's not. You have to look at the horizontal lines where you can do different things and be involved in different areas of life, and everyone's life is different. So make a plan, but do experimentation on it as well. See if that works for you. And yeah, like Colin said, it might change. After that, your plan might change.
So true, Dashan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of you have really haven't left much to say. But only thing what I think from my personal experiences, and also dealing with our youngsters and the wider community, I believe sometimes there's a lot of we feel pressured that this is something which I should be doing. I would suggest to really think, what do you want? What do you really feel that this will make me happy? This is what I want to do, rather than what else, someone else is doing, what your parents are wanting you to do, or anything like that. But think what you would like to do, because career should be a journey which you enjoy doing, rather than something that, oh, this is what maybe will give me the income, and I can bring bread and butter by doing this. And also sometimes it's also important to ask others as well what they see in you, what sort of qualities sometimes we don't see within us. Finding out from others that, what do you think I could be good at? Have you noticed anything? People who you can trust, obviously. Start from your family within home, what they think you are good at, and search further on that. Definitely networking is the key here. Have a coffee with some people who you the professions which may interest you. Find out what are the positives, what are the negatives, how could you cope up with those positives and negatives, what are your, ask them what are their coping mechanisms, because nothing comes without any hardships. There's always going to be something which you may not like, and other things which you would love the most. But how you can manage those things which you probably may not like, but they are part of what you wanting to become. Like, are you capable of over crossing those hurdles which may you come to know by talking to those people? So that's what I would like to suggest, and make small goals. If you're thinking of, for instance, joining the police, come along for a ride along, speak with different police officers. There are so many different roles which you can ask about, and then make a final sound decision.
Awesome. I hope people are taking good notes of those things, because I'm catching some really good stuff in there. That takes me really nicely into another question, Mandeep, and you made a mention of it, and that's reaching out to people, having coffees with them, having catch-ups, or in particular, and this is, I guess, why it's good to have such a variety of speakers. Ride-alongs and things like that are something very unique to the police. And so I'll go in reverse order this time, actually, just to build on your point. How can someone best reach out? I mean, it seems obvious once you're able to do it. To me, sort of, people have told me the value of coffee catch-ups, and now it seems so intuitive. But how can people reach out? And then when they have that time available, how can they use it most effectively? If they have that 30 minutes or an hour to have a coffee with someone, to go on a ride along, to have like a virtual call, how can they get in touch? And then how can they make sure that their time is used effectively for them to grow themselves?
Yeah, I think how you can reach out is, there are many platforms to reach out. You could start from your local police station. You can start from recruiting website, where we always provide these sort of opportunities. And then when that has been organized for you within your area, then before you go for ride along, you have a set of questions, which you could probably think of as a newbie, which you probably have never thought of, but your concerns, your fears. Because when I joined the police, for me it was the uniform. I never knew how satisfying this role will be till I actually joined and started working, and I'm still learning. The more I am spending time in this career, I'm always finding, oh wow, and I would have never thought that otherwise. Now I'm here. So you sort of learn as you go, but the more you will speak with people, New Zealand Police is very friendly, and we want to reflect the diversity of our community who we serve. We always looking for people from different backgrounds. There's no set qualification. If you have the life experience, any variety of experience which you can bring, which could reflect our communities, we always welcome. So yeah, you can start by calling me if emailing me. I could refer to the right person, or 0800 New Cops is the website where you can find out what is the criteria of joining the police, what sort of work opportunities are within the police. There are so many different areas where you can work in, which interests you. Then you can ask specifically, I want to speak to this work group officer. How do you find this role? Any question which you may have. So
cool. I think there's a good note in there that if you guys are open to it, then we can let people know how to get in touch with you directly as well as a start. But yeah, so we can hopefully provide that info as well. Dasham, how can someone reach out, connect? How can they make use of the time once they connect?
Yeah, look, people listening on this call, if you are looking at a chat, I would strongly recommend use LinkedIn to your advantage, because LinkedIn is a platform where it's the Facebook of professionals, basically. But you're going to have to tone and word your emails or chats very, very carefully. I think I read a stat the other day because I was delivering a speech to MIT about what's important in video calls these days and how to use LinkedIn. And I read a stat there when I was researching, only 15% of the country is using LinkedIn to the best of their advantage. 15% is like a full profile complete. The others are like 20% incomplete, and there's other stats there. But there's a huge sort of potential for especially for the youth who are coming out of universities and they're getting into a job, or even professionals changing jobs, to use LinkedIn to their advantage. Many companies have jumped on this bandwagon to use LinkedIn for finding people as well. So they use LinkedIn Recruiter, which is like another platform, and they pay for their service. And it's around 10K or something a year to use LinkedIn Recruiter license. So if the companies have seen value in that, then you should see value in actually making a profile, which is free to do. So when you do that, you suddenly open up to so many options of chatting with so many professionals, including Mandeep, including Colin, me, people who you want to talk to. I'm sure people who have made a plan in their career, they know where they're going. They will be reading and studying everything about their career. They would be going to find out who's successful in their career, which companies are involved in, find out who the competition is, all that kind of stuff. And then when they're doing that, they'll find those people on LinkedIn. And that's when you start reaching out, right? So when you're reaching out, we can do a whole new session on how to reach out people on LinkedIn. We can do a proper 2-3 hour of this. But in short, you're going to have to structure your sentences or chats saying, hey, look, you are interested, you want to know more about this company or the job they have advertised, and you would be keen to share your experience or thoughts about it. And that sort of reels you in. And if someone who's looking at your message really interested in you, they'll call you back or contact you back in any possible way. So I think LinkedIn is one option. Second is join a website called meetup.com. So meetup.com has got many small meetups of different groups that get together around Auckland or around the country in cafe settings. So what they do is there will be an engineering meetup, there will be a recruiters meetup, there will be a technological scientist meetup. Like, it's all different types available. And one of the meetups is called Ask a Recruiter, which I and the other recruiters lead. In that, people come and gather, and there are 3 recruiters sitting on the panel and answering questions about if they want to ask a recruiter any question. And it's free. Some of them are chargeable, but it's totally up to you what you want to choose. But meetup.com is a great source of getting to know people in your industry and like-minded individuals in the same boat. I think these 2 are pretty good to start off with. If you nail these 2, then you have a big edge over the others and start connecting pretty fast.
Cool. I actually didn't know about meetup.com at all, so I've opened that up on the side to check out later. I mean, for the people watching, even my own sort of perspective, I'm just finishing up uni. I'm going into a grad role next year, so I've been using LinkedIn extensively. And I know the discomfort of first trying to figure out, again, how to be careful, how to be structured with your messages and even your profile. But when you start to get the hang of it, it's sort of becomes quite intuitive. So I definitely do encourage people to take that on. Colin, any thoughts to add on how to reach out to people, how to connect and make use of that time?
Yeah, the recruiter comment is quite interesting too, because there's so many roles going at the moment. I'm sure recruiters would be happy to tap their resources if internships, so you can get a taste of what's going on. In addition to that, there's university open days that you can go to and get a really wide range of professionals that want to give back or try and promote the areas of work, and can give some pretty solid advice about what formal education courses that you can take to get to those outcomes. As well as that too, if you're looking for long-term career success and maybe you want to be in a management role or something down the line, governance, join up with the school trustee board or a sports group and get into some of those board type situations where you can learn a little bit about that in a very organic community fashion, that then might be helpful in the professional sector as well.
Awesome. And I think something I can relate to, attest to, is YSPN ourselves. We're volunteer led, and so we choose to get ourselves involved in this. And the sort of things I've learned by meeting people, talking to people, in that aspect has helped me a ton in expanding my own network. And so yeah, once again, I think these are really great comments that I can align my own experiences to, and so encourage people wanting to grow their own career to do the same. Going into a little bit more, specifics, given the perspectives we have here. Again, to you, Colin. So, what might distinguish engineering as a discipline from others in terms of the kind of key skills, and sort of what recruiters or what teams might be looking for in sort of a stronger candidate in engineering? And that can be someone that's a graduate, new, starting out fresh, and then also on the other side, once you're sort of in engineering as a career path, a discipline, the other end, experienced, seasoned, what sort of putting you that that one step ahead of the rest at that end of things as well?
Well, engineers by definition are problem solvers. It doesn't really matter what discipline you're in. You really have that analytical mindset that you want to solve problems. Bringing that to the front of how you represent yourself to prospective employers, that's what they're looking for. At a CV, front and center, I love to see someone talk specifically about the company that they're applying for, as if it's the only company they're applying for. I love to see them saying, I've been on the website and your values and your organization align with exactly what I want to do, and I love this type of project work. Being very specific, it makes a CV stand out from the people that have a very generic CV. It looks like they've gone to everyone. When it comes to graduates, perhaps I'll work from the top end down. Companies are interested in activation of skill sets. So people want intermediates that have some exposure to leadership and can lead and then eventually make that step. People are interested in graduates that have a bit of experience and can do some of the work that intermediates do, that they can utilize them through multiple fronts and drive them forward in their careers. And grads are always needed to backfill those positions as people rise through the ranks. Definitely companies that are looking and invested in individual development and bringing people forward and backfeeding resource are ones to look for, because otherwise you end up with stagnation in your role.
Cool. There's some really good thoughts there. Given I know that engineering is a very, very popular discipline, and so there are these variances, these differences, and it's good to highlight those. Similar question again, then, Dasham, for your perspective. I know you've done a lot of stuff in sort of recruiting, both, and even had your own experience working for private business. You spent some time at Deloitte. I know you're obviously right now you're at MSD. You've done some work for MBA. One, what have you sort of seen as maybe differences or even similarities that maybe people don't talk about between government and private? And then for people that might be weighing up which way they want to go, again, the same question around what makes someone, a strong candidate, what are key skills, and yeah, if they're different or if they're the same.
Yeah, look, the main difference I would say between a government entity and a private would be the value of, not value, the breadth of work that the government entities get involved in compared to a private entity is quite huge, because public service is not easy, yeah, and and you can't please everyone, but the government entities are trying to keep a balance of things, and it's a beast to work with and diversify yourself in. So if you are coming into a government entity, you're going to have a little bit of bureaucratic sort of mindset, and you're going to have a little bit of entrepreneurial head switched on as well, to navigate through these things. Whereas in private firm, you'll see they're very project focused, and they're focused on delivery more than, in comparison, involvement in the public sort of service realm. And this is probably the only difference, is the company's operations, the way they operate, the pace of work is actually the same. There's no much difference. Both have things to do and delivery to make, but I think it's just a matter of perspective, how you see it. When I was at Deloitte, I would say that they were very focused on getting things done, and when I'm in government, it's the same focus, but it's a different type of getting things done, because when you get involved in public service, you are looking after so many different aspects, and especially with MSD, because there's so many moving parts to this company, you're gonna have to make sure that whatever you say or do outside of what you're doing is reflecting, on your work, because you're carrying the government bandwagon, on your back all the time. So you just have to be mindful of a few things. But apart from that, I think the main skill you need is to just get involved and entrench yourself in any company you go for. And especially if you're a new graduate, you really have to stick it out, because you have a lot of eyes on you, and graduates always have that thing that, hey, this is a new person here, let's see how they go, because that's always going to stay, and there's no denying that. So you just have to accept it and just work hard at it in any job you go in.
Awesome, cool. Appreciate the insights there between government and private in particular. Mandeep, anything to add on? I know some people, their career doesn't always take them into what might be an office environment. They might want to be hands-on out there. Any sort of thoughts to add on skill set there from your perspective?
I think never stop learning. One should always keep learning one thing or another, because there are stages in your life. You might be very passionate about something now, but later on you might want to. So if you have something to fall back on, if you have an attitude of learning new things, it always keep your doors open for many opportunities ahead. One should be very good at communicating, and communication is both ways: listening and being able to articulate what you want to, written, verbal, all that is quite an important skill. For police, particularly, if you want to join police, it's a wonderful profession, and the specific skills are that one should be fit, no criminal convictions, and good communicator. it's a it gives you that ability to work with other agencies in collaboration. It gives you an ability to help people who don't have any role models in their families to help them with. You might be breaking a cycle of someone's generational cycle to make them better people. It's a profession when people are running away when there's a danger, and it's a profession where you going in. A police officer is running towards that danger to help people. So you should be ready to help people. That should be coming within you, the helping attitude. And it's a very satisfying profession if you're thinking of joining the police.
Awesome, cool. The thing is, there's so many questions, it's hard to kind of segue them into each other, but you guys are doing it really nicely. A good question, and I'll leave this to all three because it's an interesting perspective, is companies, government organizations, all sorts of larger entities often have good frameworks of how to onboard new grads, and or just new people into the roles, train them well and upskill them. But in particular, and this really applies to those that are self-employed, but I think it could also apply to those that are still part of a larger organization. What steps can someone take to keep themselves developing, self-employed or just individually, personally, outside of the frameworks they're given, no matter what they might be doing? I'll leave that up to all three in case anyone's got particular views.
Office of Ethnic Communities has got a graduates program where they recently had taken, I think, 23 graduates from different ethnic groups. And we had police had two graduates, customs, and other government departments, health, depending on what sort of degrees these graduates had. So also Office of Ethnic Communities, also if you go on their website, they are taking another intake sometime this year again. I don't have the specific time, but if you do a search on internet, you might be able to find out what is the criteria. And also with the police, we always look for graduates if they want to learn the customer service at the front counter, give you a bit of more understanding what kind of jobs could be in this profession, and what sort of applications we use. So yeah, that's something which I could bring on the table here for the graduates.
Cool. I've just had a little follow up to that question. That we've got some self-employed engineers. So Colin, this might be a good one for you. But for people that are wanting to develop themselves outside of the frameworks companies provide, in particular if they're entirely self-employed, what might you have sort of that you can tell them in terms of steps, let's say steps or actions that they can take?
There are a lot of resources available if you're looking in the right place, and they don't even need to cost money. Coursera.com has free online courses that are offered by international universities. I studied some through the University of Michigan on my pathway to getting chartered. LinkedIn. Look at LinkedIn. Just the other week, there was a coach, a career professional coach in there that had a 12-step program, and he was offering one step for free, no obligation, for people about how to free up 8 hours a week and delegate effectively. There are a lot of content that's being offered by just completely for free on some of these platforms, as well as that. Conversations with your organizations about doing extra study. Sometimes they'll be quite supportive also.
Cool. Dasham, any thoughts to add on in particular for self-employed? Because I know we have a few people watching, but just even broader advice as well, because I think everyone always needs to realize that professional development isn't always tied to an organization. Being self-employed, you're still developing yourself professionally. So any thoughts on that?
100%, man. Broad advice would be, there are 4 things you're going to look at. You're going to look at skills, you're going to look at knowledge, you're going to look at attitude and competence. these are the 4 things you keep developing as you grow up the ladder, or if you're self-employed going into contractual roles. Because think of this way, if you had the right attitude to find a job, do you still have the right attitude towards resilience, towards organizing, planning? All these things are part of developing your attitude, skills, knowledge, and competence. So if you carry on developing these things, then you would sort of keep getting new career opportunities as you go. I'll give you an example. In the management sort of line, if you are in a management role or you're doing something in professional services, and engineering is part of it, you'll be looking at top 7 skills would be planning, organizing, staffing, delegating, supervising, reporting. These are sort of what you generally do, right? So these skills are developed over time. You might have them already, but you're going to have to work on them more if you want to go up the ladder, or if you're looking at diversifying yourself in different contractual opportunities. And like Colin said, LinkedIn Learning is the epitome of finding learning opportunities. There are opportunities you can do for free. There are opportunities you have to pay for. You can invest in getting a LinkedIn Premium, which is around $60 at the moment a month, and you get access to all these different types of learning opportunities via LinkedIn Learning. And trust me, they also have quizzes in there. They have skill tests. All these things will judge your competence level. Because I'll give you an example. The other day, I thought that I'm great at Microsoft Excel, and I thought I would do a quiz on LinkedIn Learning. And to my surprise, I failed the test. And I think I'm good at Excel, but the competence level that LinkedIn sets you, it gives you a benchmark you got to meet. So if you are really curious about finding, developing your competence, knowledge, attitude, and skills, you got to start small and start with as small as LinkedIn Learning. And if that doesn't cut it for you, then you go up to, doing any other qualifications you like. And that's how you sort of measure, benchmark yourself against your own skills and develop them.
Cool. No, I think that hopefully that will give a really good angle for people who may be used to associating professional development with organizations that might guide you through it, and to realize that professional development is actually ongoing, constant, and something you can entirely, champion for yourself. A quick follow-up to that one about the LinkedIn Learning and whatnot particularly. Do recruiters recognize them? Do they value seeing these LinkedIn certificates and other sources of learning?
Yep, 100%. Sorry, I've taken the podium here, guys. This is a very recent example. I was looking at getting someone on board for a job that we advertised, and I was searching on LinkedIn, and I found a few candidates, and one of them had done LinkedIn Learning programs, and they were not just courses; they were like competency-based question and answers, and you can actually view it by clicking how much they've scored and how much they have, done in that. That level of benchmark is not widely recognized at the moment, but it is a very good gauge of person's ability to actually perform in that task. And I was looking at basic things like Microsoft PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, and things that we need for a job. It's all there for that person. Compared to another candidate who was great on the CV, and they have mentioned that they have done all these things, but there is no competence for me to look at. And all of a sudden, this person who has done an extra effort and done a benchmark against themselves have shown that they've actually done a course or skill test. So naturally, I am, shifted more towards this person and asking them more questions about it. So that's a very tiny example of how you distinguish yourself. You make a USP, a unique selling point about yourself by just doing this.
Cool, awesome. Thank you for that. And I'll make a mention of that. We actually at YSPN do offer a free service where we check people's CVs, cover letters, and LinkedIn profiles. So for anyone who either has one and is looking to polish it up a little bit, or hasn't got one and wants to start making one, to make use of these things, to connect with people, reach out, showcase what you may already be doing yourself, add to it, upskill yourself and learn, then we'll have there's an email address that you can email to, and we can help you all for free, entirely free service, and we can help you guys with your own LinkedIn profiles. A good question here, Mandeep, is sometimes people associate I guess, career success with monetary gain, right? Or career development with monetary gain. I think there was a good mention of this at the start, that people often think, career success is if I'm earning X amount, or if I'm earning X amount more per year, or if I'm really, just like that's the sole driver for them. Why is continued development important beyond just monetary gain? What is there to gain? What are the other aspects that people should look into? I know we touched on this as well, around happiness and things like that, but do you have any sort of further thoughts on why development is just so important to us as people?
Yeah, I think when you want to do something which you love doing, it automatically makes you so good at it that money automatically comes into those. If you're so good at anything with passion, and doing wholeheartedly, it just opens a lot of doors for you. That's how I think money should never be the priority. I know it is to live in this world, but it just comes if you are doing something with the whole heart. That's how I have taken the life journey. That's my personal experience, and professional experience as well. Joining as a constable, now making my way up to senior sergeant. It's all because the passion I had for helping the community, in specifically ethnic communities, and I followed through that dream, and just opportunities came on my way. So, yeah.
Cool, awesome, thank you.
I don't know if I have given the specific answer to that, but that's how I, can just sum it
No,
up.
I think you really are sort of honing on it. It's a very broad thing. People tend to, it's hard to sort of materialize and imagine, well, what is there to gain, but I think you'll often find, at least what I've experienced, is being able to upskill myself, or just sort of be more comfortable in a particular, whether it's something work related, whether it's not, is you find yourself more confident in your ability to speak, and you frankly sound less like you're making things up. You may not be, but what you start to develop is a sense of, well, when I speak, I'm sure about what I speak about, and it has a large sort of mental, emotional impact on you, positively, to be able to do so. So people often, may not link sort of professional growth with the personal gain that you have from it. But I, again, highly encourage that people, oftentimes you'll find that passion will be more satisfying than money is. But not to deny that everyone has to make their bread and butter. You have to ideally have your financial independence and bring food to the table. But sort of beyond that, I think it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You want to sort of work through your needs, satisfy the critical ones, and then you sort of work your way into things that are more motivational and a bit more sort of close to heart, as such.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess a good one again, Colin, for you. So you mentioned your leadership role with ACE. I guess for the engineers watching, a little bit of background on ACE itself. I know it ties into sort of your encouragement around governance. And then also more broadly, how can people get themselves involved in those kinds of sort of, in your case, it's a leadership role, but you mentioned extracurriculars and things. How has your leadership role been? How did you get there? And what are your thoughts for others?
I saw it advertised to apply to, and I had a real interest in broader industry outcomes, expanding my network, learning a little bit about governance, and seeing where that could take in Woods and the organisation I'm involved in, and a willingness to help, to champion the learning and development of others, and understand those critical industry issues that large to small firms are having. The process for getting involved there was an application. I needed to list what I would bring to the role, and what I see for the strategic vision of the organisation, and then it went to a member vote. So it was really decided by the engineering community itself that were ACE members. ACE being the Association of Consulting and Engineering, so quite broad. It involves services firms and architecture and planning and surveying and all sorts of industries in there as well in the consulting sector. So that broad recognition was quite rewarding in itself. There are other governance opportunities and organisations that that have a lesser threshold for getting into those sorts of roles. I'm also on the board of just a community wastewater treatment and disposal facility, and they're looking for someone who has a little bit of knowledge in engineering where they didn't, and a little bit of financial acumen. And I was recruited into that just because I happen to live nearby. So some of these opportunities can come out of the blue, and the opportunities in governance, they really should reflect the communities that they service. So they want a broad range of people representing them, because a community is made up of so many different people from so many different parts of the world or different life experiences. So having the best representation comes from the best cross-section of the community that you can provide. So I definitely encourage getting involved there. It's highly rewarding.
Cool. Great. I also note that we've actually a few minutes over 7. If it's fine with all of you guys, would you all be happy to take a few more questions till about maybe 1:15, and we'll wrap things up?
Yeah,
Sure thing.
I'm okay
Yeah,
with
I think Mandeep, I know you have the kids over. They made a little appearance there, so I do appreciate your guys' time in being able to join me here. Cool. I think there was a good one here that I can segue into as well. So people often talk about sort of the simple steps to success, right? We make it sound real simple that reach out or make connections or get involved in things. In the same way that people kind of say, if you want to be fit, you have to eat healthy. Sort of sometimes people have the experience still that they don't quite, like they might go away from here. They might take these takeaways, and then a few weeks or months later, they might reflect back and say, well, maybe I tried, or maybe they still couldn't figure it out and it didn't quite work. Why could it be that people still fall short of their professional development, and what kind of, I guess, potentially on a motivational side of things, what could you say to people to make them sort of bridge that gap between, okay, here are things I can do, and here are how I can ensure that those things will be successful if I reflected back on this in, say, 6 months? Maybe I'll throw that out to Dasham.
Yeah, look, I think with just talking about success, I think it's important. Okay, I'll reword this. If you become a subject matter expert, the success will follow, right? You gotta be excellent in what you do, and that will lead you to success. You have to be passionate about what you do. That'll lead you to success, right? This is important because until and unless you don't become a subject matter expert, you will not feel that you're motivated enough to get something done. And you can be SME in more than one field, not just one in your job. You could be having a side business like I have. You could become SME in that job, other things you're doing, no worries. How you become an SME is what I touched on earlier, is developing your skills, knowledge, attitude, and competence. And that's when you become an SME. There's a difference between a good recruiter and a great recruiter, a good engineer and a great engineer. They're all on a pathway to become learned, or become pathway to become an expert in what they do. So when you are seen as an SME to other people, that's when you will see successful outcomes. Because success could be to people be buying a car versus buying a Lamborghini. It's a different perspective for people, yeah, but you have to be satisfied in what success means to you. So I think it's all about becoming an SME in your path, in your career journey, and then you'll see the outcomes.
Cool. Colin, any thoughts on that one?
Perspective, I believe, is really important. A lot of people want everything now. Careers, if you retire at 65, it's often 45 years long, and if you're 40, you can still start again. You can change. So falling off the path 6 months in from your plan, it isn't the end of the world. You can make it a planned break. I'm going to take 2 months off. I'm going to focus on my family, or just get through winter and come back to it and make a new plan. You can being agile is really important, I think, in your career journey.
Awesome. And Mandeep, anything there around sort of bridging that gap between actions and really making things happen for yourself?
Absolutely. I think resilience and patience is very important as a character overall, not only professionally but also in your personal life, because um, nothing could be smooth and easy. You know, there are always ups and downs, even in relationships, working relationships. So one should be always having that patience and resilience, and also a set of good friends, good network where you can actually share if you are facing something, seek their perspectives. Sometimes it's that you're only looking from one perspective. There could be another perspective, and which you haven't thought of. Don't just be in the isolation and just struggling with something on your own. There's a lot of people who might be seeing that you are doing so great, and they never would think that anything was wrong, and then you share that concern of yours, and you could be empowered hearing the feedback they may give to you, or you may have another perspective to tackle something which you are having in hand at that time. That's
cool. So there's definitely a lot of power in I suppose validation. Like I know I've had this experience where I've connected with people, and 6 months down the line, I've had a new decision to make, or I've had a new angle to take on what I want to do with my role, or with my career, what kind of role I want to go into. And I've been able to go back to that person, reach out. For example, I've been able to have a follow-up coffee catch up with the same person. And what I found is there's often hesitation. For example, they might be working for X company, and I'm not looking to get into X company. I might be looking to get into Y company that's a direct competitor. But sometimes people do kind of just take on broader supporting roles. There might not be, well, this doesn't actually personally benefit me, nor does it personally benefit, say, the company I work for. But people are very open to helping. And it's something, and I almost have to say that people, you can be told it as much as you want. I was told it heaps. I've attended lots of events and panels and heard from people, but you really have to get out there and do it, is my sort of thought. I went out there, I did it, and then I kind of reflected back on, hey, to friends or to peers or to people I connected to on LinkedIn, and I've loved being able to use LinkedIn effectively, and say, hey, so here's how I'm going now, and these people genuinely do like hearing back from you, especially if they're friends, especially if they're family and they're part of your network, but even people that are total strangers. And so I do encourage people to get out there. Honestly, maybe your first one or two connections might not be the best. I've had this experience where I had a coffee catch up, and then afterwards I thought I didn't do that well. It wasn't effective. But what it taught me, and I think this is a good question I might want to ask. I think we've got maybe time for two more to go through with you guys. Is in terms of those sort of monumental, like, key moments in your own career journeys. We had a question, and I'll kind of take a spin on it. The question was sort of what you might regret doing as part of your career or your professional growth. But the way I think I want to angle it is, what did you learn from that? What might be moments where maybe there was a setback? Because, as we've said, you don't always start on it. It's not a linear path. You're not following one trajectory the entire time. But have you had any of your own sort of moments where something didn't quite go to plan? How did you spin things around? What did you learn from there? Maybe I'll go back in reverse order. I know, Mandeep, you touched on a lot of the obstacles you faced. But sort of, anything where you feel like if you reflect back, you'll learn something very significant towards your professional development?
Wow.
There are a few things.
Maybe I'll come back to it if you want to
No
help.
worries. I know you did. Honestly, I know you did a really good job of getting into this as part of your sort of initial story. So I almost feel like you would be double answering in a way. So maybe in that case, Dasham, what do you think in terms of key moments, in particular ones where you might look back and think there was something I really learned from here? Setback, turnaround, anything?
Man, there are more than one. Like you don't become a leader or an advisor until you're failed, and there are so many incidents, but all good ones. It was, if the good they happen, so they make you learn. But I can quickly share something outside of my job, something for the company that I'm currently running for my photography and video business. I started this thing in 2015, 16, sort of there at that time, and I wanted to develop this into a full-time job, like fully professionally being a photographer and having a full career change and leaving what I'm currently was doing. Um, and I was on the verge of quitting my job and getting into this full time, but I sort of stopped, paused, sort of rethink this through that, finance, family, all the kind of other stuff that goes on in your head is it's not going to be viable. I'm going to have to sort of build it on the side. And if that flies, then I can look at, leaving a job and focusing on a business. So I think what I learned from that is planning is very important, and B, if you really want to establish a business, don't jump into it. Establish it first. You might have to work after 5 o'clock for hours and hours to develop something, especially if you're a job. But that's a hustle you're gonna have to do. If you don't do it, you're not gonna reach where you want to be. And I think now I'm at a point where I don't want to leave my job, but I have enough finance to sort of keep my business going, which is great. But I think it's come from falling down, getting up again, falling down, getting up again, sort of thing. Yeah, I think maybe not the best example, but then given the time frame, I think important learning for everyone here is, if you want to achieve something, you're going to put your heart and soul into it, plan for it, and then go for it.
I
Awesome.
think I can
Yeah,
I
Mandeep,
can
go
I
for it.
can add something, passing on to Dasham before. It has given me a time to think about what I could share. My personal reflection in my career is about the career growth from constable to the management role. It was always uh, I must have applied for 50 times to become a sergeant, and there was always there was something not meeting this time, or someone else. There's nothing for you to improve, but someone else had exceeded more because of their examples which they have presented in the interview. It was quite disheartening at times, thinking, when will I be the number one? There's always, you are number two. Sometimes you haven't even been shortlisted for interview. You give up or you continue trying. And I remember my daughter when she came to know, because it takes so much time to do your application, and then if you're shortlisted, then you're preparing for your interview. And my daughter had seen me those 50 times before that, and she said, "Oh, Mom, you really want to go through, because it does have an effect on you after not being successful." And I said to her, "Oh, this is one last time." And she said, "Oh, Mom, I have heard that one last time 45 times before. It's not going to be your last time." I said, "Oh, no, this will be my last time." And it was last time, because I made it this time. And had I not tried that, had I given up on that, so never give up, never ever. This is one thing which I have always had been my mantra in my life. I've been through a lot of struggles in my life, but I have never given up, always have kept trying. What I have learned from this is that I was always an operational police officer, but now it has given me an opportunity to work strategically, representing my community in national headquarters, and having an engagement with the wider government sector on a strategic point of view. If I hadn't kept going, and just thought, okay, there's always a tip of the iceberg, you don't know how deep it is, what struggles one goes through, but one should keep trying, and never give up.
Awesome. I think it's a really good message there. Colin, what has your experience been?
I can recall, working in a role, and for a time being quite unhappy. And it was only after really sitting down and being honest with myself that I'd realised that the career had started to stagnate, and there wasn't really anywhere for me to go any further. And while I was quite comfortable where I was, and I'd been there for a long time, I had to really come towards a realization that I needed to step out, change lanes, put the indicator on, and find myself a new place where I can achieve the goals that I wanted and the places I wanted to get to. And it was kind of daunting at the time, but once I was honest with myself and made that decision that this is what I needed to provide better opportunities for myself and my family, definitely empowered, and it was the right decision for sure at the right time.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you all for your answers. We have sort of past 7:15, so I'll wrap things up here. To Mandeep, Dasham, and Colin, thank you guys for joining us and sharing your own journeys, your insights, your advice. I think as Dasham touched on, there's honestly so much information that even just the hour isn't enough to really go into the depth of it all. But I hope people got a good perspective on things, for sure. And the most key thing out of there being that there's so many resources, so much online to help you now, and so many people to help point you in the direction of those things, that you almost, you'd be missing out on a lot of value by not getting out there. Not, I'd say to anyone that was sort of hesitant about a LinkedIn profile, if you're not convinced now, then I don't know if you'll ever be. Encourage you to go out and do that. I think if I'm using this whole live stream thing properly, there should be the email address in the live video for anyone that's wanting to reach out there. We'll also share these details afterwards as well. We'll make these into sort of like we'll put the recording up, make little snippets and things of this content as well, because we could make this all bite-sized and super valuable to the audience. And for the speakers, if you guys are all happy to sort of connect with people and be contactable, then we'll put those details out as well. And I'm almost honestly thinking that we should put our details out as well. Like, I'm maybe young, but I'm happy to help point people towards professionals and speakers and individuals like yourselves. So even if I can't directly help someone, or someone else on my team can't help someone, the whole point of us with Young Sick Professionals Network is we're a network. We're trying to help people with their professional growth. So yeah, thank you all for your time. Any sort of last final remarks from anyone? Anything to close up with?
I just want to say thank you, Rajpreet. You guys are doing a great work. It's a very good platform for many youngsters thinking back. We never had certain platforms such where we could do the networking and listen to others. So wonderful platform which you have created, and thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it, and please feel free to share my details with your audience, and I'll do my best. Thank you so kindly, and it's nice to meet you, Dasham and Colin, as well. I learned a lot from you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandeep, and nice to meet you too. Thanks, Raj, again. Exactly like what Mandeep said, but this kopapa is very rich and very important for people, right? This needs to happen more. So the more you guys do this, the more people will reel in, and they will see value in being part of a Young Sikh professional network. I love how it's not just for Sikhs, it's for everyone who wants to have an opportunity and wants to learn. So it's great to have that involvement there. So thank you so much, and nice to meet you, Colin, and thanks for your time as well.
Well, thanks to you too, Dasham and Manpreet. And thanks for organising this. This broader network is so important. I think we've all highlighted on the fact that a network can serve you, and you can serve your network and your communities. And here we have 4 people on screen that people can engage with and really drive their professional and career outcomes. So I'm so happy just to have been invited to talk alongside these great people. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. I'll finish up the stream now. Cheers. Take care.
Have a good day.
Good night. Bye.